Welcome to Mystic Moons. Today, we're going to go to a little serious place. Let's get on our psychic spaceships. Not ships, not loaded. One ship, but psychically link our minds together. And let's go to the state of Massachusetts, USA. Currently, is everybody all ready now to get into something heavy? This is a bit of an intrigue type of case. We have to find out if Karen Reed is guilty. We don't have to. Of course, we don't have to do anything. However, let's psychically investigate a charge of second-degree murder on Karen Reed from the state of Massachusetts. It's interesting because it involves the police department of the area. The trial still is ongoing. It has not been for the jury deliberation as of yet. So let's just ponder some of the details. Now, who's Karen Reed? I've said the same thing until this is a request from one of my subscribers. They wanted me to go into it. And I think it's a good thing that we explore our Justice Department, especially in lieu of current affairs with the American Justice Department. And of course, many of us know throughout history of our Justice Department, there have been many irregularities and some perplexing details have emerged. First of all, Karen Reed is accused of second-degree murder, 3 charges. The first one is what I just mentioned. The second is motor vehicle manslaughter. Apparently, they said she put her car in reverse, her S.U.V, and struck her lover and then just skedaddled away. In the meantime, he did freeze to death and die. And she's also accused of the third crime against her, the third statement, the third trial particular is she's accused of leaving the scene of the collision, therefore causing death. Now, this is in the state of Massachusetts, which is one of those, liberal states of which you're always guilty until proven otherwise, or you're not. And what kind of danger you would be to the community, I suppose, too. However, they've made a big thing out of this woman. And first of all, when you look at Karen Reed, you see a woman with a very open face. If she has the slightest bit of emotion, she shows it. She can't hide it. She doesn't have one of those forked tongue type of faces. They say she's difficult to hide. She's a person who's difficult to hide their emotions. You could tell by her facial features and her demeanor. And then, of course, if you look at her occupation, she's a financial analyst, stockbroker type. She deals with money and figures. So, briefly, her and the victim, John, John O'Keefe he's a Boston police officer, was a Boston police officer with about 16 years in the force. He seems like a kind enough person. However, we do know, just what I just mentioned, to be a policeman, you come in contact with not the most calmest people in the world. You come across with the underbelly of societies. It's up to your job to get them, to protect the civilized society. Therefore, you would know a lot of off-color type personages. Whereas Karen, she would be the type to pay attention to detail. No matter how smashed she got, she would still, and they were accused of being drunk too, drinking. In fact, they were all at a party. But getting back to what I just was mentioning, as a financial analysis, she's very astute with figures. And as you well know, when you do figures, mathematics, etc., uh, it's a very exact type of profession. You pay attention to lots of little details. So, now the thing about this case, they say it was a crime of passion. Karen was jealous because of John's relationship with other people, and that she also didn't like his children, or the children he attended to, his niece and nephew, whom their parents had died in an accident, and he was raising them. So it's very commendable for John. He has a very soft side, the late John O'Keefe. But the niece and the nephew, with whom he was taking care of their welfare and who's their guardian, they both said and stated to the police that those two, Karen O'Neill and the deceased John, not Karen O'Neill, Karen Reed, I'm getting ahead of myself, and John O'Neill were volatile. They would fight a lot. They had a rocky, passionate relationship. In fact, when you look at Karen Reed, you would see that she's a very passionate person. You can see how she can easily uh, get under your skin or say whatever that came off the top of her head. She wouldn't have difficulty expressing herself. She looks she looks like a passionate person, one who enjoys life to the fullest. And John O'Keefe looks like somebody who has a conscience, and he looks essentially like a kind-hearted person in his photographs anyway. One photograph I've seen of him. Now, the thing is, it was like on a weekend, a snowstorm. And why anybody would want to go out in a snowstorm in the middle of the suburbia in Boston, Massachusetts, I haven't the slightest idea. But anyway, there was a party going on with somebody connected with the department. And the long and short of it is, John O'Keefe ends up dead in suburbia in the owner of the party that he had Karen drive him to, dead, frozen to death. And that's kind of weird. And they say, and see, the weird thing about this, the evidence was tampered with. The investigation was like as though it was done by sophomoric college students, like interns who had other better things to do. And the point is that the house, eh, the lawn in front of the house where he was going to party, he never, supposedly the owner of the house said he never entered the party. He never entered the party, and he's just pleading ignorance. However, right after it happened in January 22. So 2 years later, the person who owned the house, who was giving the party that John O'Keefe was going to, that Karen drove him to, has since sold the house and skedaddled. However, they also had a dog, a 6 years in the family, a German Shepherd. That also was disposed or given away to, gotten rid of. And they showed a picture of John O'Keefe's corpse. Not everything, not every part of it, just the arm. And it had a lot of scratches on it, which makes it seem similar to like what a beast or something would do. Anyway, so the house is gone. The owner of the house where the body was found in the front yard, he has since got rid of the dog, the German Shepherd, 70-pound dog, 6 years old, and he's also sold the house. And and then he goes, I know nothing. And it seems as though Karen Reed, being a passionate person, she was also kind of flirty. In other words, if she saw a man that she liked, she wouldn't hesitate to tell that man that she liked him, and what seems to me that she would act upon it. In fact, there was a third party male associated with the two, with her and him, and it seems like that a lot of witnesses in the case on the defense side are not being entered into evidence. And the fact that the evidence, like she supposedly crashed her SUV into him after she dropped him off in a fit of rage, and the crash damaged her fender and her back taillights. So, and then they found bits of this, bits of that. I mean, the investigation was done extremely poorly, and as though, as I said, idiots did it. It hasn't really. It has. It's very suspicious. Very suspicious. And briefly, it's prosecution is saying that Karen, as I just mentioned, backed into the boyfriend to end the relationship. This doesn't seem like an action that would go by financial analysts would do. If you were really wanting to get rid of your boyfriend, or you were pissed at him, even though she's very passionate looking, she'd be more of a detailist. She'd be more rational. I mean, numbers can make you crazy, but sloppy, not necessarily. Not necessarily. And the defense is saying, Karen Reed's side is saying that she's an easy target for a cover up, for a murder, because she's an outsider, number one. And they can always say somebody else did it. And the fact of the sloppy investigation and the witnesses being not being able to produce witnesses. I mean, she had witnesses, but they were not allowed in court at the hearing to be used in her favor. Evidence. She's saying it's evidence planted. So I mean, there's so many layers and layers of intrigue that I think that we should throw the cards on this one and see. So I've given you a bit of background for this trial. Did Karen Reed, is she guilty of second degree murder? We're going to have to take a look at this. Because it seems as though, I mean, one thing when you're a cop, as I mentioned, you come in contact with lots and lots of skeevy characters. I mean, that's one reason why. I mean, as a lawyer, you come in contact with skeevy characters too, but the cops are a direct line with whatever nut jobs, or they're used to, they get used to violence. You can't say that cops do not get used to violence. And it's like, not like, it's, if you're into, like, let's say human dissection, all right, let's say you take a course, human dissection, gross anatomy, what they call it dissection now. But the first time you see a corpse, and you see it all cut up and everything, your knees get wobbly, your mouth, I mean, you feel like you're going to puke. It's like, it's scary. It's a very scary thing. And maybe the first time you see a head chopped off, or like, open up the nervous system, or you see somebody taking out someone's brain with a saw. I mean, this is what happens in dissection. Or you open up and you see the circulatory system, the different system by system by system. And of course, if you're taking a quickie course in human dissection, they zip through it, and it's a little longer when you take the 12-week spring or fall course in human dissection. What I'm saying was, you may have your knees and your knees may shake and your mouth may get dry, but after a while, you're just picking it up as though it was a cabbage. It could be like a tomato. You just get like toughened. I mean, no matter, you may be nauseous at first, but you just get used to it. And the same thing happens to cops. You get, and cops, another thing too, on the night of the murder of John O'Keefe, the owner of the house said he had his door open and locked, unlocked. And he was awakened by 6 o'clock by his sister-in-laws coming into the bedroom and going, here's a, explaining the situation. Now, the cops that I know, of course, they're city cops, most of them, city cops. They don't like, when you're a cop, you get suspicious. You're used to seeing the bad side of humanity. So of course you're always filled with a certain type of trepidation. And also you're suspicious. You're suspicious. You can't help it. It's the same thing no matter what your profession is. There's a carryover. There's a carryover to it. There's a carryover. And I can't really see how how cops, police would go to sleep because the owner was a former law enforcement something or other. But I can't see how anyone would go to sleep with their front door open in this day and age. And suburbia, I mean, anybody can come in. Okay, so you have a big dog too, but still. And the fact of the matter is, too, these people, the owners, the man and the wife, the husband and wife, they, besides having that 70-pound German Shepherd, they also had slept through, mind you, fire engines, police cars, ambulance, etc., coming to retrieve the body and to investigate. They knew nothing. They didn't even budge. And there's a lot of things like that that are like weird. And I remember I have also lived in cities, and if a siren is going off and in the lights, even when the blinds down and the curtains drawn, you still see shadows. You hear noise. You get used to a place. You hear everything, no matter what state of like unconscious sleep you are in, unless you are drugged on artificial means. Of course, I don't drink, so I don't really know how many drinks the man had, but it sounds weird. It sounds suspicious. And then the clinker of the whole thing too, the evidence that was shown to the jury, catch this, of which they had cameras that saying her car did this and this and that. And they showed the car, like people around it, when the car went to the garage, I guess after it was already confiscated. Something. The point I'm trying to say, the evidence that was shown to the jury was reversed. It was made to appear as though the driver's side of the vehicle, where the person was supposedly struck, the boyfriend, by the S.U.V., was reversed, and they were actually looking at the evidence for the passenger side. And so that in itself is suspicious. It is suspicious. I mean, why would you show evidence in court with a reverse angle, inverted angle? All right, reversed. And everybody said, "Oh, that's it, that's it." And then, lo and behold, I mean, it's so easy to find that out if you are intelligent, if you are perceptive, if you feel that you're being suspiciously pinned for an action. So these are the things. The evidence is tainted. The evidence, it was sloppy. It took forever to go around to get the investigation. And many people were given a legal pass, a pass. Oh, you wouldn't do that. And she would do that. It's the case of Eve again. Eve ate the damn apple, so it's Eve's fault that humanity was kicked out. It's the Eve complex again. So, and it's easy to pinpoint her because she's the kind of woman, as I said, she looks passionate. She'll say what pops into her mind. And she's no shrinking violet. She isn't a shrinking violet. So, and out there in suburbia, uh, when you live in suburbia, you can get numb to certain things. I mean, you can think, I have my house, I have this, I have that. And you think you're the center of the universe, and you get a little too overconfident because it's the suburbs. Mediocrity at its pinnacle. So now, Karen Reed is calling a lot of, it's at the tip of police corruption, judicial, judicial, how would you say the word is? Judicial flip-flops? We'll use that word for right now, just because of lack of finding a word. Now let's see, is Karen Reed guilty of second-degree murder? Let me give this a good shuffle, because Karen Reed. Now you understand that she, boyfriend girlfriend since 2019. They went through COVID together, lockdown, etc. So obviously they have 5 years worth of 5 years worth of history together, right? 5 years, and obviously a lot can happen in 5 years, especially when you're still dating and you're not married. So you did make that commitment. She still felt like a free agent, and so did he. But they were still known as girlfriend and boyfriend. However, you can see Karen's the type of person that, like, she told you she didn't like you. I'm sure she would say, I don't like you. I can't say that she did not have her admirers as well as her detractors. She just is that kind of, she gets that kind of vibe off. And John O'Keefe, O'Keel, O'Keefe, John O'Keefe, he's the kind of person, being a cop for 19, almost 20 years on the force, almost, not quite, that he would know, and I'm sure he's prosecuted some of, or just aided in the prosecution and imprisonment of quite a number of banditos who had grudges. A cop has to deal with grudges because that's what crime is all about, besides need and insecurities and, just being generally crazy or desperate. That's the wrong choice of words, excuse me. Being desperate. All cops know this. All cops know this. All cops know. They know the cutting edge, the razor's edge of human action. Especially somebody who's been on the force more than just a rookie. So, and anyway, the trial, as I said, it hasn't gone to jury yet, but soon. And you can just see it's suspicious. Why would they go? Why did they do such a sloppy job? The thing is, and she left him. She said she left him at the party and went on her way. And he didn't. I think she went back to his house. Whether they lived together, I'm not sure. But you can look it up. Karen Reed trial, Massachusetts, second-degree murder of a Boston cop. Now, this could be a miscarriage of justice. Well, it's a sloppy case. And if convicted of murder, second-degree murder, and the other two charges I mentioned, she could spend life in prison. They're not going to kill the victim over this. It's imprisonment. And I just find it a scratch to find a financial analysis to be so sloppy with the things that they accuse her of being sloppy with. And it was something that, if you were to just take a book by a cover and not read it in the inside of the book, you would know there's more detailed essence that goes into someone who does that profession. I mean, I'm not saying she doesn't harbor her animosities. No, she's a passionate person. She has, you can tell that she because she's thinking, she's contained, and she's like, she's a whole bunch of things. All right, now, but is she a murderer? Did she? I mean, if she was going to do him in, she would do him in another manner, which is like my initial reaction. If she was going to, just by her occupation. I mean, if she was a different occupation, I would say, but why would she back into him in a friend's place? And why were they going out on a night of storm? But I guess when you live in Boston, you get so used to storms, you don't like second guess your actions. Booze never take. I've never was that thrilled about going out on a snowy night and booze and getting boozed up. But now we're not talking about myself. We're talking about this case. Karen O'Neill. Not Karen O'Neill. That's a friend of mine. Excuse me, Karen. Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh. This is quite serious. Karen Reed. Karen Reed. Are you going to be accused of second-degree murder? Karen Reed. Are you going to be found guilty of killing your boyfriend of 5 years, John O'Keefe? The Boston cop. Did you kill the Boston cop because you were mad at him? All right, let's take Karen John, guilty. Innocent. Are you innocent? Are you innocent or guilty? What is the verdict going to be? What should be the verdict of this case? All right. Just run 3 random cards. Please do another shuffle here. And I'm just getting the vibration. And we'll see. Did Karen run over, intentionally killing to maim and harm John? Did the financial analysis person intentionally harm the Boston cop? Okay. Three cards. All right. Now let's take a look. Let's see. Now okay, we have 3 cards here. Did Karen, let's see the trial. Will she be convicted, guilty or not guilty? Okay, we have the work card. Okay, that can indicate the trial is in progress. The work card. Deliberations. Trial in progress. The death card. This can mean she either gets convicted or she either gets free or she gets put in jail. Death represents the major arcana. It represents big time change. Immediate change. Immediate. We still don't know. All right. So far we have the 8 of Pentacles, the work card. Working on it. The trial. We have the major arcana, the death card. We'll have to investigate these, of course. And then the third one we have. And we have the 10 of Cups. That doesn't sound like a guilty one, does it? It seems from the first read, it seems as though she's going to be found innocent, not guilty. However, let's take a dive into this, because it could very well be that she's found, since both sides are like after her, putting a noose around her, One side is putting the noose around her neck, and the other one is giving her the gateway to paradisia, or at least get the hell out of town, or something or other of that nature. All right. So let's take this, and let's get the work card, the jury card, the trial card. Oh, and I see a couple of cards that were in there. This pile here, it's integrated. So these were irrelevant, but we're going to stick them in here and see if they come up with the secondary base. There is a reason probably I did not get these cards in the first time around. Spirit must have psychic world, my psychic travelers, my team, people. This is kind of interesting, not kind of, it is interesting to see who gets the blame for the Boston cops' murder. I mean, you hit a person or beat up a person and then let them freeze to death outside, maimed, hurt. That's some strong, strong stuff. It sounds like it should be, Camden, New Jersey, or something like that. Oakland, California. I mean, that's cold. That's very cold. That's very, very cold. And then, who profited from his demise? Who profited from the Boston cops' death? It just seems, who? All right. And out in suburbia, in the middle of like Cabbage Patch land. Nothing ever happens in the exact, these are people that crime does not affect us type of people. Even though they work as law enforcement, they still have their oasis, their safety castle in the suburban hamlets. They weren't on the inner city of life and death. Okay, so let's look at the work card. All right. First card. Take these two cards. All right, what kind of work is this? The Queen of Cups. All right. The Queen of Cups can very well be Karen Reed. And I have an upside down heart. Upside down heart. So that's the opposite of heartbreak. The opposite of heartbreak. So somebody is not all that sad about what happened. Okay. Somebody banged into the Boston cop. Somebody did this. Someone, and this seems to be the only inverted card in this entire deck. All right. Okay. It seems to be. I don't normally deal with inverted cards. So the opposite of the Three of Swords is not heartache, not heartbreak. Somebody's gleefully happy the way it's going. This could be the judge, this could be the legal system, this could be Karen herself. Or it could be the receptive, guilty person, not feeling remorse. There's no remorse in this work. So I have an enemy. Did this Boston cop obviously was not, He had enemies. He had enemies. All right, now let's see this death. All right, death card. Hmm. Let's shuffle up a storm and see who. What kind of death is this? What change? Is this jail, life imprisonment, or is this not guilty? All right, this one and this one. Okay. All right, we have two random cards again. Let's see if we get a little intel into this change, this outcome, guilty or not guilty. We have the sneak card. Sneak, the Seven of Swords. And we have the Chariot. Well, two major arcana, the Chariot and the Death card. And we have the Seven of Swords, the sneak card, the sneak. Oh, So, it's obviously going to find that something is fishy to the fishy elements, the evidence tampering, and the witnesses in favor of the defense side are aspects of this judgment. That is moving on. And it's prompting a verdict because the evidence cannot be disputed, cannot be disputed. The fact that the evidence has been given, the fact that the evidence has been altered, or there's been a lot of blowback, or just resistance to doing things correctly, doing things legitimately in this case, which is why the population has made their feelings known. Karen Reed has her supporters. She has her supporters outside. This is a very controversial thing because if you can have like the police department that is construing the evidence to trying to either not do their job of investigation, and we're just pinning it on the eve of the day, du jour, Karen Reed. That's what they're doing. They're putting the evidence on Karen Reed. Why? Because she's there and she's pinnable. All right, now let's see here. We're going to see now is the Ten of Cups. What is this verdict? Guilty or not guilty? Guilty or not guilty? Guilty or not guilty? Let us see. Is Karen going to spend her life in jail, in prison for the rest of her life, or she's going to get freed? Who does this go for? To whom is this verdict? Okay, give me another card here. Let's see. Let's take this one. All right. Now again, we have two random cards. Let us see. Karen, John. Now we have the King of Cups. The King of Cups. And we have the struggle. Well, the King of Cups, receptive. The King of Cups would be the defense. And the struggle, or it could be the prosecution's failure to get the evidence together. Is the prosecution losing? Now, I'm looking at this. We have the work card. The work card is the jury. We have the Queen of Cups. And that's the receptive element. Could be the defense. And we see no heartbreak. In fact, they call her the smiling murderess, something like that. She's often, and she's the type when she's nervous, she would smile, she would laugh, she shows her emotions. The fact that that is the case of the building, she shows no remorse, not the kind. She's not sobbing. She's nervous. She's nervous. She's nervous twitches. All right. Now we have the death card. We have the sneak card. Now, and we also have the chariot. The sneak card, I would believe that would be the evidence was altered. The evidence in this trial was altered. And then because we have the evidence in this trial, it aids in the prosecution failing to adequately present its case. I mean, how can you? Yes, you can do anything in today's judicial courts and any era's judicial courts. However, the celebration, the fact that there has been bad evidence, the fact that the witnesses were not, the defense were not allowed to be their day in court, their hour in court. Sloppy is sloppy. People are sloppy because they're hiding something in haste. Sloppy. I would say that the prosecution has failed to deliver a tight ass case. A tight case. It's loose. It has leaks. It has wobbly parts. It has suspicious detail. Why would you? Okay, so I can understand you wanted to get rid of your house, but why would you get rid of your dog? Why would you get rid of your 6-year-old dog a few months after the event, the deceased passing in your front yard? Why would you? And it's such a. Why would you do that? Wouldn't you want to find out that you were not? What happened in your what happened that night? Wouldn't you be curious? I mean, wouldn't you be something or other, something that just like get rid of all the evidence and the dog too? Get rid of the dog. That's a certain type of suspicious actions. Also, too, the dog was asked if the dog was friendly to strangers. Oh, yes, very friendly to strangers was the answer. However, there was an incident of which the dog had altercation. The dog had an altercation with some stranger. Had an altercation. And that was omitted during the evidence gathering session of court. There was some altercation going on. There's inconsistency in the prosecution's side. There is inconsistency. And due to the inconsistency, sneaking, there's a sneak element to this whole thing. So I'd say the prosecution fails at this point to deliver a second degree murder charge against Karen Reed for the murder of her boyfriend, Boston cop John O'Keefe. Now, at this point, I would say, and who did it? It's another question. It's another question. Who did it? You have a party of a bunch of cops used to scenarios, used to manipulating evidence, or they're aware that evidence must be portrayed and secured before a person can be labeled a murderer, of even first degree, second degree manslaughter, whatever. And they totally went out the window on this. And they were not rookies. They were not rookies. So, what do you say? Suspicious. Then the guy gets rid of his house, he gets rid of his dog, and I see nothing, I know nothing type of thing. I'm all of a sudden stupid. And then what did the Boston cop have? He had enemies. 16 years on the force, a policeman, you have enemies. You have enemies. And then again, there was also a third party culprit that they have yet to really put too much sun on, too much light on. And this guy, he was attracted to Karen, and he was well aware. His name is Brian Higgins. Now, Brian Higgins is an AFF agent, which is like, which is a higher degree investigator than normal. He does special cases. He had the hots for, lack of a better term, for Karen. They were developing touchy-feely type things. And of course, John knew about it. So there's so many things that intertwine, and that's totally not allowed yet to really be integrated into the case. So blame it on the woman. Blame it on the woman. Blame it on the woman. The Eve complex. Remember this, the Eve complex. Massachusetts, Salem. Who's that one that chopped up her parents in civil war in the early days of Massachusetts in the 1800s or the 1700s? Lizzie something or other. The point what I'm trying to say is this is a suspicious case. And they try to make it open and shut, blaming the woman when there's some kind of cover up going on here. And taking the easy way out, blaming it on the woman seems to be the case. So I don't really, other than the fact that they screamed at each other and they had like infidelities or didn't have infidelities, they had a volatile relationship, Karen and the deceased boyfriend. So it was pinnable. The murder was pinnable, able to pin it on Karen Reed. But as I said, she's going to be found not guilty. All right? So that is, right now, that is what I see. And if I have a change, I will get back on this case again. However, that's what I see right now. So let's call this, let's get off this morose, macabre subject and relax our psychic impulses. And hopefully, the spirit of the deceased cop will rest a bit. And we'll find out who really did it. Who really did it. Who really did it. Right now, it's this, a few suspicious. And it's one of these towns that everyone, highly respected people, they aren't drug dealers, they aren't pimps, they aren't gang people. I mean, they are a police force, and that is a gang in itself. However, there's a lot more to this than what has been said. What kind of legal system do we have, too, that we can't put our evidence out? Something we ponder these days. So, anyway,